On today's episode of the Think Bigger Mastermind, I interview Marc Fox, team leader and CEO of Fox Real Estate Group, one of the top producers here in the Portland, Oregon market. Welcome to the Think Bigger Mastermind with Steve Yeager and Justin Stoddard, where we interview some of the world's brightest and most innovative minds, helping grow your thinking, your actions, and your impact. All right, excited to be here today. Justin Stoddard, again, co-host of the Think Bigger Mastermind. Unfortunately, I'm without my co-host today, Steve Yeager. Actually has laryngitis, so that's a legitimate. Actually talked to him on the phone. He did sound a bit prepubescent, so it's legitimate. He actually won't be able to be on our show today, but nonetheless, the show goes on, and I'm excited and fortunate to be here with Marc Fox. So a little background on Marc. In fact, Marc, hello. Thanks for being with us.
How's it going?
Good.
Thank you for having me.
Good. Yeah, we're excited to have you. I'm sure our audience is as well. So a little background on Marc for those of you who don't know him. For those of you that are in the Portland market, his name's probably a household name. I see his signs all over the place, and just has a fantastic real estate team and really reputation, which sometimes those don't always go together. So kudos to you for being able to have both.
Thanks.
That's great. So outside that, Marc, you're a father of two kids, committed husband. We'll tell a little bit more about your story as we go through here, but Marc played sports, soccer, actually at the collegiate level, and then we're going to talk a little bit about his story. So Marc, again, welcome to the show, and any opening remarks before we kind of jump into a few questions?
No, I'm honored to be here, and look forward to being of help and helping others however I can.
Good. I appreciate that. I was sharing with Marc, again, kind of the purpose behind this, which really kind of resonates with who he is, that both myself as well as Steve, and I know Marc as well, really want to live lives of impact, and we're going to get into that a little bit, how Marc's doing that through real estate. But the purpose of this, again, really is to move people's thinking to be bigger, actions that follow, and then impact. So Marc's really someone who's a kind of a perfect example of that, in my opinion. So Marc, tell us a little bit about prior to your real estate career. Tell us kind of what you did and what that looked like.
Sure. So I was a restaurant guy. Straight out of college, I spent 12 years in the restaurant business, which was definitely a grind, but set a great foundation for hard work ethic, working with others, from running businesses for companies to ultimately, at the end of that, every restaurant guy wants to own their own business. My wife and I had a couple of those, a franchise, and I just woke up one day and I was working 16, 17 hours a day, 7 days a week with everything on the line. Kids were little. We had, 50, 60, 70 employees, and we just had to say, hey, do we want to do more of this or do we want to get out of this? Mm-hmm. And I was always passionate about real estate. I had bought and sold, built a home, things like that. But at that point in time, decided to get my real estate license in the midst of selling one of the restaurants, closing the other one down, financially swallowing my lumps and moving on. And felt blessed and fortunate to be with Keller Williams from the start, and that's been just a little over 11 years ago.
Very cool. It's interesting. It seems like a hard worker is almost one of those cliche terms, right? Is it like you almost see it on people's resume, like great multitasker, great work ethic. It's interesting how you say what kind of your definition of that, what that looked like for you, at least in the restaurant days. 16, 17 hour days, mm-hmm. 7 days a week. That's a grind.
Yeah,
that's a grind. What did that teach you? I mean, going through that experience, obviously it taught you that you didn't want to do it forever. But were there other lessons that came out of that have been really beneficial for you as you've gone on to have the impact that you have?
Well, I just think the work ethic is the big piece, right? I think as we relate that to real estate, often we know what to do. We're told what to do. We're shown what to do. But often why people get in this business is exactly why they get out of it, right? They're in control of their own schedule. They're their own boss. And unfortunately, sometimes that impacts income in a way that doesn't allow them to be successful just because it's tough to manage. So being self-managed, motivation, work ethic, yeah.
It's interesting. We were having this kind of pre-conversation prior to this show, and it's interesting. There seems to be a bit of a trend and I won't necessarily pin it on any particular demographic, like age demographic, but one of my mentors always talks about people who are fanatical about wanting to have their pictures on Instagram, living the big life, when oftentimes the big life is rented, right? They haven't actually gone out and done the work to grind to make it happen. And it's I think one of the great benefits of going through probably an experience like you went through is what it helps you become, right? You start to see the fruits and the impact of putting in that kind of labor and that kind of toil. And that's cool. And I'm sure you probably experience a lot of that even in collegiate life, balancing being an athlete as well as from school. I'm assuming that's kind of a common trend from where you've been, that's just something that's always been a reality for you.
Yeah, balancing that for sure, especially with a family and kids. I kind of always believed in that philosophy of work hard, play hard. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, the restaurant life didn't provide any playtime. Yeah. And so definitely work hard, play hard. It's a balance. It's a challenge, and it's tough to balance, especially in this industry where it can take over your life if you let it, if you don't set any parameters.
So you got into the business during one of the really what often people call, the great financial meltdown. And it wasn't necessarily, at least for maybe the first year, it was a great time to be in it. But tell us kind of how long that lasted for you, and then what it looked like after that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got in end of 06-ish, and really probably saw about 6 months, 8 months of really good market before things started slowing down. And for me, I didn't know any different, and I was just I was one that I literally remember opening my computer at my desk with a shared office my first day, and just opening my computer and saying, "Now what do I do?" Right? And literally just saying that to myself out loud, but yet having someone to go to that said, "Hey, go do this," and matter of just doing it and doing it as much as I needed to or could until I had another reason not to. Right? And that goes back to the basics of lead gen. But really, it's just doing the right activities. So had this crest of the first 6, 7, 8 months, I felt blessed. Did 43 transactions. My first year was swimming. I was still learning how to do this myself. Brought on an assistant 6 months into it, and a guy brand new to real estate, fresh out of college, and we struggled through a lot of learning. But it was a great time. And so as the market shifted and crashed, as we might say, I didn't know any different, and I just continued to do the same activities, maybe in different ways or different levels of them, and felt blessed again to have the business continue to grow each year as the market fell, and obviously just take more market share. Yeah.
We've talked about a little bit about the compound effect, and again, you've got this trend of, especially I think with those of us that are in sales type roles, we tend to be a little bit immediate gratification, and our society as a whole, right? I oftentimes joke in some of my presentations that we're living in the Amazon world where it's one-click buying and it's delivered prime now in 2 hours. And that tends to roll into our expectations and everything, both from the way we buy and sell, but also probably the way we work, right? So tell us a little bit how you've been able to overcome that when you've got all of these forces and probably even internally, you want this immediate gratification. How have you been able to really consistently enact the compound effect and then build a culture of people that similarly enact the compound effect and don't expect to get paid tomorrow on stuff they did today?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the little things. It's the one thing. Gary Keller's book, The One Thing. So at the end of the day, it's lead generation. So I was definitely the person that wants that immediate gratification. That felt good to me. It made me feel accomplished at the end of the day. And so I fell into lead generation for sale by owners and expireds, where I could make calls, set appointments, go on that appointment. The success, was varied, but that was the accomplishment for me, was in going on the appointment, not necessarily the paycheck, because in this industry, we don't see the reward for whether it be a compensation or even an appointment sometimes for 30, 60, 90 days out. And so that was my instant reward, was the appointment, knowing that the payoff was going to come. And just staying consistent with that. And obviously, once it starts happening, it feels a lot better doing it. But that was my instant reward. Whether it be door knocking and talking to someone trying to set that appointment, or on the phones lead generating, I was wanting to do some type of activity where I could have that reward immediately. I was not the best at my sphere, because sometimes that sphere work doesn't pan out for a year or 2 or 3, or farming per se. But I was definitely wanting to do those small activities that would produce big results at the end of the day. And I think I just took the perspective of that was my job, right? And I came from a corporate world and then was on my own. But I think it's interesting when people get in this business that they sometimes just don't treat it like a job. Mm-hmm. And if someone came in and said, I'll hire you for this job and you need to work 40 or 50 hours a week and you'll make X, whatever that is. If you're younger, it could be $60,000, $70,000. If you're not, it could be 100, 200,000, whatever that number is. There's a number there where someone will say, I'll work 50 or 60 hours a week if I could accomplish that. Yet they have the freedom and ability to do other things and don't have that boss in a corporate environment, so they just don't. But if they did those little tasks every single day, for the hours they need to be doing it, that reward's there and then some, right? And so that was rewarding for me.
It's funny you mentioned this. I do some kind of reading and journaling in the morning, and I was studying on the term patience. And I think oftentimes we think of patience as something that salespeople are really bad at, which is possibly true. But I think sometimes we define patience as sitting and waiting, when I think patience more looks like being patient with the end result, and not necessarily patient with the activities. That patience is actually a verb that means to do and to act and to be very consistently doing the activities. But the patience part comes in actually the result, and that's probably the biggest challenge. I would say in the real estate industry as a whole, because of the way people are wired, we're extroverted, we're people that want to talk and that want to get results, and we're a lot of times type A and driven, but those results come later. So to have what you just said there sink into people and have them be able to really lock in and find gratification in not necessarily the end commission, but in getting the appointment or even making the calls, right? Mm-hmm. I'm assuming that's a mindset shift when people join your team when they've worked in other places. And your role now is moved out of production. Yep. And so tell us kind of what life looks like for you and your business, and then we'll kind of get into maybe how you teach some of these principles to your team.
Sure. So so where we sit today as a team, we have, as of last year's numbers, we had 4 sales agents. We had a listing specialist, which actually took me out of production. I think I maybe handled 3 or 4 transactions last year. As a company, we did 266 transactions, and we have 3 full-time and 3 part-time administrative support people. And some of that's for an expansion market, which we can talk about as well. But that's kind of how we were structured last year. We've added a couple agents and other admin support going into this year to support bigger goals. But so that's where we sit today. So my role has changed. Yeah, I'm definitely out of production, which is fun. As much as I enjoy the thrill of the hunt and setting the appointment and going on it, it's fun to do that through others. And that's really how my role has changed. Is now it's developing others and seeing their successes, and there's nothing more rewarding than seeing somebody else's life changed, whether that be quality of life, whether that be the family life or their financials, and having that success through others has become really a goal and a challenge for me that is a lot of fun.
So the purpose in stepping out of production, which I know for some realtors can be almost create this anxiety of where they don't have direct contact with their sphere, with the end consumer. You've been able to overcome that. I love something that you said, is that having success through others. And it sounds like that's part of the driving force. Were there other things that kind of led up to that decision of continuing to grow, as opposed to just saying, hey, I'm gonna keep it where it's at?
I think that's always been part of the big picture, right? We talk about thinking bigger, right? And it was always this big goal, whether it be year one or today, what does that look like and where is that? I think often, we get caught up so much in it's so far out, how are we going to get there, that it's that paralysis by analysis a little bit. And so for me, it was just looking at one step ahead, what needs to be done next. And it kind of just naturally evolved. I can't say I got in the business in the first year. Sure, I had some roadmap with the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book saying, here's what you could do. That seemed like a pipe dream at that point in time, but it seemed great. And so it just evolved. It just evolved one step at a time, staying focused on the next goal, the next step, the next hire, and how we help more people. And I say to our staff, and I say to our clients is, we have a team that specializes in what we do. And the reason we do that is because if we want to continue to help more and more people at the highest level and have the best results for them, then we need to have people that specialize in what they do. And so as the team's grown, that's what it is. That's why we have people that focus on that.
So you've made that decision and obviously stand behind it and believe that the results are proof of it, that when people are working with a team of people that specialize as opposed to one individual that's maybe tried to master all of the craft, that consumers have a better experience?
I believe so. Yeah. I mean, there are people on our team that are far better at what they do than I would be trying to do it all. I know that without a doubt. And, there's nothing better than talking to a friend or past client or someone in your sphere, or receiving feedback from a client that says, Eric was amazing, or gosh, it was so great working with Matt or Christy or Neil, whoever it is. That's rewarding, right? Whether I had no contact with them or minimal, to hear them rave about our team and it's about somebody else is a great feeling.
Well, it's cool. I mean, something that just came to mind when you said that, Mark, is that if it were you in that situation and they were raving about the client experience, you'd have a feel good, and so would the client, right? You bring in somebody else who's now part of a team. Now you've got three people that just had a feel good, right?
Absolutely.
The client, the teammate of yours, and then you, because you've helped develop this person and give them the opportunity to have that.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Cool.
we all win and succeed together, right? I mean, we have a phenomenal team, a great culture, and I know that people on our team are far better at what they do than I would be trying to do that job.
How have you guys, and I know I didn't prepare you for really any of these questions, but this one probably especially, there's oftentimes, the cynics that say that when they work with a team, they feel like they don't have a point of contact. How have you guys resolved that? Because you continue to scale, continue to have such a great reputation. How do you deal with that, where people maybe don't feel passed off, right?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's a concern of people, and it's something maybe you've got to talk to clients and talk them through that and help them understand. Definitely with systems that are scalable, with scripts that help them understand, here's what happens next. I mean, that's a script we use on our team all the time. It's very basic and very simple, but if we talk to a client at any point in time, say, well, so here's what happens next, and you explain that to them, then we're taking the lead, and they trust us and understand us, and they're working with us for a reason. They know that whether it be Matt or, again, Nikos, whoever we're handing them off to, is how the process works, and that they're there to take the best care of them possible, and they specialize in what they do. We can use sports analogies. I do that with people, right? Yeah. I mean, you can use the Blazers or a sports team, right? And if they had the big, tall center under, dribbling the ball around out top, they wouldn't be good. And so, again, we all got to focus on what we do best.
Oh, that's a great analogy. Yeah, it really does kind of paint a different picture when people see it that way. Thanks for sharing that. So let's talk about now kind of what your business looks like from an expansion effort. Obviously, expansion is becoming kind of a growing trend in real estate, especially within the Keller Williams world. Your decision, you may have already answered this with why you decided to grow a team, but why did you decide to expand? And give me any of your kind of unique takes on it. Like, what's either the legacy component and or just the business component?
Sure. The whole philosophy behind expansion is if there's a hub and a market center, that you have a business that's producing at a high level, that's scalable and has systems in place and support in place, that we can definitely help people that are either doing well or struggling in different markets by leveraging that. So much of it's virtual. And so the hub in Portland, we support a team in Vancouver, Washington, and a team in Eugene at this point in time. And our whole goal is, we know that they can do more with us than without us, and more isn't also, it's not just volume and business, but it's truly them netting more money and having a better quality of life by leveraging our staff from all sorts of facets. So our first expansion was into the Vancouver market, and it actually was with my brother, who came from another industry, and his success there is nothing to do with him being my brother. It has to do with his work ethic and simply just applying the systems and the duplication and the leverage that he has. And so, in his first full year in the business, he closed 106 transactions. Jeez. And has added 2 agents to his team and just a third now. And so, our whole goal with expansion, with anybody we want to partner with, is that we know we can help them at least triple their business. And if that's the case, they're going to net more money. A lot of people don't understand how expensive it can be to operate a real estate team at a high level, just from an overhead perspective, and as margins shrink. And so through that expansion model, for example, my brother in Vancouver, I mean, he was probably able to net in his first year as much as it probably took me 5 or 6 years to build. Wow. With expenses and overhead and all the hassle myself of managing people and processes and having that overhead. Right. And so it's rewarding to see that. And our whole goal is really, how can we change people's lives? I mean, how can we make either their finances better, their quality of life better, or both?
It's interesting. I was thinking as you were saying that your first year you did 46 transactions. Your brother did 106, right? So if all things were equal, he would have done 46 as well. Now, obviously, when you have an expansion team, you're also helping pay for the hub, right? Because you've got some expenses that they're covering. How was his quality of life in his first year comparable to your quality of life, or maybe different than your quality of life your first year?
That's a great question. I mean, he's just able to leverage every aspect of a team operating at a level of business that we are doing. It's all those resources are there for him. So whether it be leveraging our listing manager and a listing coordinator, transaction manager, the marketing systems, the listing presentation, we really say with an expansion partner, it's almost this instant credibility. Whether they've been in the business 2 weeks or 2 years doing it on their own, they instantly have everything that we have.
Interesting.
I mean, they have our listing presentation, they have our buyer consultation, they have our scripts, they'll go through our listing academy training. So, and this instant credibility to be able to step into their marketplace in someone's kitchen table and say, whatever it might be, we sold this many homes last year. Here's my team, and be able to walk in there with a team of 5, 6, 8 people that support them from the hub, and partnerships that other than just themselves on their own. Yeah.
Killer. Really, really interesting paradigm shift that I think a lot of people are having, is that, I mean, I don't know how many hats realtors have to wear, right? Plus the learning curve to be able to actually wear that hat. You think about the stress of being a first-year agent trying to produce at a high level, yet still manage the anxieties and concerns and fears of themselves and a loved one and family members when they're in a new industry, hoping this is going to work. Sure. I'll have conversations with newer agents in there. And some of those things at a year or two in, they're saying, I really need to get better at my listing presentation. And what you're saying is that with your expansion team, not only do they get a listing presentation, but they go through a listing academy. Yep. Where they step into that first listing appointment and they've actually been trained at a really high level on how to do it.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, from trained at a high level to even internal sales agents that are setting listing appointments for them. So it's just a leverage of all these facets that help them quickly. It just ramps their business up way quicker than it would be on their own. They could possibly do it on their own. It just might take 3 or 4 or 5 times as long, again, with not having that quality of life of the leverage.
I've heard it said that Cody Gibson, who's a big expansion kind of leader in the area, and really throughout the country, someone had asked him that tough question, which is, if somebody could do this on their own, why wouldn't they, right? And his response, I think, was pretty profound, which was, it's not that the person couldn't do it; they could. What we're giving them is they're able to fast forward or do a leap forward about 3 years.
Exactly.
In fact, he even said if they couldn't do it on their own ever, they're probably not a good candidate. They're not someone that we're actually going to really heavily entertain. We want people that can do it on their own. We just want to give them a jump start. And then after the fact, we want to give them a better quality of life, right? Because they aren't having to wear all those hats. They can go in and wear a couple of the key hats that pays them the best and allows them to have a great quality of life.
Yeah, that's huge.
Great stuff. Good. So your goal with expansion then is what? I mean, obviously you said it's to change people's lives. What is that? How do you quantify that?
Sure. That's different for everybody. I think our approach is just maybe a little bit different than some. I think there's a lot of teams out there that are in 30, 40, 20 different cities, and have expansion partners there. Maybe not doing a lot of transactions. They've planted some great seeds, and that might turn out to be huge, down the road. Our whole goal is to maybe do a little more about quality versus quantity. Make sure it's all about the right people. It's not where do you want to be. It's about having the right people and leading with that. But to really go deep, to help somebody build their business to a level they want, or to help them build their own team within our organization, leveraging our systems for their people as well. But we'd rather be in a couple cities a year, that are doing 100 transactions each, than to be in 30 cities that are doing 8 each.
So if somebody wants to do 100 transactions, it's realistic that they could step in. I mean, it's a proven model. You've proven that people can step in and do that in their first year with the systems and models and tools and helps and support that you guys offer.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What a cool legacy, right? You think about expansion, sometimes people think, well, it's this land grab, right? It's this let's take over the world, which for us probably type A sales-driven people there's some form of that, right? But at the end of the day, the legacy for you, it sounds like, is much deeper than that. That there's a deeper component of really kind of changing lives. So I'm going to ask probably 2 more questions. One is when all is said and done, how does Marc Fox want to be remembered? whether in the industry and or in other places. And then the second one that I can remind you of, if you go super in deep on the first, which is what would be the advice for people to help them start thinking bigger? Like what's some of the best advice you could have? So feel free to answer those in whichever order you like.
Yeah, as far as the, I guess the advice piece that if people want to grow bigger, what's amazing about this industry, it always fascinates me, is it's the lowest barrier to entry career opportunity out there with probably the biggest potential. And that, where do you ever see that go hand in hand? Yeah. And so the opportunity is phenomenal. You need to be shown what to do, and you have to do it. You have to make it happen. But at the end of the day, you can't think big enough. Just don't think so big that you don't know what the next step is, and that you stall out before you make that next step, or take too long doing it. So I definitely believe in coaching. I have a coach myself. We don't know what we don't know, and so whether it's a mentor in your office or a great title partner, or whatever, lending partner, whatever it might be, you have to have some coaching and guidance along the way. That will accelerate your path versus trying to figure it out on your own. And so I've definitely leveraged on other. People have done this before us at much higher levels, and I've leveraged the heck out of the learnings and mistakes that others have made as well to help us grow. So it's out there for anybody. As far as legacy, I just, it's a deep question when you ask that. What do you want to be remembered for? I think definitely integrity, having a phenomenal reputation for helping people. At the core of everything we do, we're truly helping people, and I tell our team that. We got to keep that in mind. But providing career opportunities within a business that helps others change their lives. I think that would be a way to sum it up. Whether that's quality time with their family, or that's financials, or it's travel, or pursuing their hobby at the highest level. Whatever that is, it's different for all of us. But working within an environment that allows them to achieve whatever that is.
That's cool. Awesome stuff, Marc. It's been a total pleasure to spend some more time with you here today, and thanks for all the insight that you've shared. I'm convinced that whoever tunes into this will have their minds expanded, and look forward to some feedback from those of you who tune in. So again, appreciate your time. We know it's super valuable, so thanks for being willing to share part of your legacy with this audience. And we really appreciate you being here.
Absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate it.
We want to thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Think Bigger Mastermind with Steve Yeager and Justin Stoddard. Now, here's how you can show us some digital love in return. Number 1, subscribe to our show. Number 2, give us a review. Number 3, share this with a friend. And number 4, go think bigger.